Hey, welcome to another Tuesday Live podcast with your host, Joe and Jen.
Hello, hello.
I am Joe, and this is my beautiful wife, Jen. And
Yeah.
today we've got some cool stuff, guys. We're going to be talking about who our sellers are, our avatar seller.
Avatar. It's such a funky word.
I know. Well, so if we blended all of our sellers into like one person situation, like what most commonly are these? And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how we found them or how they found us. We're going to talk about what kind of properties these were.
Mm-hmm.
And it's way different than you're going to think. And so I'm really excited to get into that too.
And these are primarily creative finance deals that we're chatting about.
I'm going to talk about a little bit of both.
Okay.
And because our avatar seller, and I'm glad you brought that up, is different for both.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you a great example of that. I'm going to just get right into it.
Yeah,
so
let's go.
Y'all, I hope y'all ready. So the first thing I've noticed is houses that we've wholesaled.
What is wholesaling?
Wholesale means this is a house that needed a lot of work. The seller says, hey, I'm going to give you a huge discount because my property needs a lot of work and I want a cash offer for that house. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes we could buy them at a huge discount and still buy them with seller financing and then fix them and turn around and resell it or many other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But these are generally houses that we're getting at a big discount. And you know what? That avatar seller is some similarities of what our avatar seller is for creative finance deals, but the properties are completely different.
Right.
So the properties are completely different. So what do I mean by that? Wholesale deals, houses that need a lot of work that we're getting at huge discounts, were generally built before 1990. So that means houses that were over 30 something years old and older. So when I'm looking at somebody who has a brand new house and they're like, what's your cash offer? Guys, we're not going to get that for a big discount. It doesn't need a lot of work.
Yeah.
So when someone says they've got a 4-year-old house and I want your cash offer, and we talk to them about the property, unless something crazy happened there, odds are it's pretty close to turnkey. However, we did have our Marco Island deal, which is a deal that we wholesaled. That was built in 1991.
How do you remember that?
I remember weird stuff. Weird stuff. And that house was built in 1991. It was a 2,000 square foot house on the water with the boat lift, but the roof was old. There was that broken window. The kitchen was original. The bathrooms were original, all the flooring. So when we looked at that property and the seller reached out to us and she says, $900,000 and it's yours. And I'm looking at neighboring properties that are in great shape selling for $1.8 million.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow.
A little bit of a spread there, huh?
There's a big discount there, right? We end up getting under contract for even a little bit less than that too. So, so there's the, whatever. But majority of the houses that we bought and done this to were built in the 80s. They had the 80s kitchens, 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've done some houses that were, much, much older. You're talking 1940s and 30s and things like that.
So I think it's really important to just remind people that we're not pinpointing certain years or properties, that we're very open when we are advertising and when we're trying to attract sellers. But there are some keywords that we're going to talk about using.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then we're going to go on the flip side of this. So when we buy these creative finance deals, because that's our specialty, we love these creative finance deals. So what is that, Joe? That is turnkey. I know some of you are listening thinking, what is a creative finance deal? Well, this is where we're able to buy houses with seller financing. Sometimes they have what's called a wrap, where they already have a mortgage and we could just do a mortgage payment takeover. Sometimes people call that like a subject to. There's many different ways to do these, even like a lease option. However, when we're buying these properties, these are generally turnkey houses. These are houses that need almost nothing. Many of them that we bought that need nothing. And we'll talk about the one we just got under contract last week. It's a house in Florida. It's on the east coast of Florida. The house was built in 2022.
I thought you were going to talk about the multifamily.
No.
Okay.
That's another solid finance deal, but that's a multifamily.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this one because the difference with this is this house was built in 2022. If you're listening to this podcast, this is September 2024. So this house is 2 years old. So it's a 2-year-old house.
Not just purchased, literally built.
Built
Yeah.
in 2022. Thank you for that correction. So house is 2 years old. They bought it new. They're moving from Florida to Texas. I don't know why,
Giddy up.
but they want it. So
Bigger and better in Texas. I guess.
But so they're moving to Texas.
You get more house out there.
You get a lot more house
more
out
land.
There, a lot more
better barbecue.
And the Tex-Mex, not to be messed with.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal. So the food is great in Texas. So I don't blame them for that stuff. But what they're doing is they're moving to Texas. They don't want to list it on the market. They really don't even have a lot of equity.
Mm-hmm.
But I know everybody out there, if you're a real estate investor and you're only looking for the fixer-uppers, and I used to pass on these deals. It makes me sick to my stomach how many times a motivated seller reached out to me, had a turnkey house.
Yeah.
Well, we were able to put that house under contract. I believe we're closing mid-October, and they're moving to Texas. We're able to buy that with seller financing. No big, huge discount. We're not getting it for half off, but we're still getting a good deal on it. Don't get me wrong.
Well, how are you doing this?
Well, we're going to be talking all about that, right? So, and we're going to get into these avatar sellers. So our avatar sellers, and this is what we're going to be really diving in deep today. So there's two different properties. There's the beautiful houses. We could do a seller financing.
Mm-hmm.
There's the fixer-uppers that are the, they need a lot of work. They're dated. Sometimes, roofs are, all types of stuff going on there. But so our chickens in the house, believe it or not, I have one of our friends who had a property and they went to it and there was actually like chickens and ducks and geese living inside of the house, like wandering around, like just doing their business on the floor. So it's always interesting, but yeah, you find stuff that happens. That was in Tennessee. So if you want to Tennessee over there, but either way, our avatar seller, this is somebody who is highly motivated. Okay. So what we've done is we've actually compiled a list, a motivation scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the very least motivated. They almost don't want to talk to you. They're mad that you're even, responding to them because they've reached out to us. They maybe have even hit the button on accident, right? They didn't even mean to reach out. That's usually what we call a 1. Really nothing going on there. And then it could get a little bit better where, okay, maybe they did reach out, but they don't really have a house for sale, and it goes up. Mid-range is where I have a house I'm thinking of selling. I semi am, but we're not really sure yet. But then you get to a 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 10s are highly motivated. They don't want to sell. They usually need to sell for one reason or another. And there's a whole long list of reasons why. Many times when you talk about doing seller financing, they're like, yes. Let's get on a call.
So what you're saying is, like, let's say, for example, someone grabbed our 10 magic questions off our script and question 10 happens to ask, would you be open to seller financing? A 10 in your book is someone who's like, yes.
Yep. Yeah. So you hit it right in the head. Our script that we have, so the 10 magic questions we ask every seller through messaging, does all the work for you. So if you don't have that already, you need to have it, guys. Go to our website. We give it away for free. creativefinanceplaybook.com. Go get it, guys. It's free, but only under one condition.
You got to use it.
And use it right. Don't change it. It works so well. So, but you just hit it on the head. So question 10, if I were to pay your price, would you be open to doing seller financing in terms? And when they're like, yes, I will. Well, then I know I need to get on a call with these folks, not in a day, not next week. Mm-hmm. I'm talking like stop what I'm doing, pull over the car. I have to make a quick phone call. Mm-hmm. It is that speed to lead.
Turn your pasta water off and pick up the phone.
Yep. The pasta's going to get all soggy on you. Right. But whatever that is, guys, you want to get on those calls right away. So where do I find out how motivated they are? Trick question, right in our script. Question 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. Number 1, tell me about your property. They're going to start opening up. Now 10s, high motivation, they're going to start just unloading information generally. I have this house. I've had it for this. It's got new windows, and they just start opening up. The lower motivation they are is usually one-word answers. Yeah. So there's a key indicator, okay? If you see one-word answers, I'm not saying you're not going to do a deal, but I do deal with 10s. Mm-hmm. I do deals with 9s. I don't think I've ever done a deal with a 1 before in my whole life, okay? So I don't want to deal with 1s because I don't do business with them. I never have, never will. I can't say never will, I probably never will.
Yeah, well, the one, I mean, they're like, it's like pulling teeth, try to get them to answer the questions, or they're just maybe being a little rude or grumpy. And
Combative.
so you just don't want to spend all your time spinning your wheels there. And the point being, you talk to enough people, you will come across tens. Like you'll come across people who are like, yes, take my house. Like, how do I sign up? Like, this seems too good to be true. And those are the people where like we explain, no, it's not too good to be true. This is how we do it. And this is how simple it can be.
I don't even want to spill the beans on who, so I'm not going on here.
Uh-oh.
But I got on a call with one of our clients today who was given a house for free. For free. And I was like, stop, for free. And they were like, I thought it was like, no, for free. Inherited a house, lived out of the state. They were getting letters from the town saying it was like $50 a day in fines. It needs work. But if somebody else buys it, the town will waive all the back fines. The guy's like, I don't want anything to do with this house. I inherited it. You could please just take it for free. And he's like, I got to pay them something for it. But he was like, the seller is insisting on not taking any money for this house.
That's crazy.
More to come.
Okay.
But so was he
How did he find the seller or she?
So that was actually a postcard.
Okay.
Direct mail. I am not going to spill any more beans on that one, but that's going to be a story coming soon, guys. But So was the seller a 10 out of state, inherited the property, getting mean letters from the town saying we're fining you $50 a day for what is it, tall grass, garbage, whatever was left behind.
Right.
And the guy lives in the other side of the country and doesn't want anything to do with this house that was just inherited. So he just wants the headache to go away. And the seller's like 80 years old. So it's not, he's just like, this is torture. Take this thing from me. I don't even want the money.
And again, like I always have to remind people that if you are eat, sleep, breathing real estate, because that's what your full-time gig is, and like you just are all about it, you're on Zillow, you're talking to sellers, buyers, all the things, like most people, that is not their reality. Like buying a house, selling a house, inheriting a home, and now having this like property to deal with, like it's a headache for a lot of people. And honestly, I feel like we do have superhero capes on sometimes when we kind of swoop in and are able to help people out that don't know all of the ins and outs like we do. Even if you haven't done just maybe a few deals, like you know way more than an average person would. And so we have to remember that.
Specialized knowledge. Right?
Napoleon.
That's what it is, right? We do it for a living. So
Yeah.
we might be more accustomed to seeing these things. And it's just keeping your ears to the streets, y'all. That's what it is.
Yep.
But so here's the thing. We deal with tens. We deal with motivated sellers like you all should be. So one of the changes that we've made in our business a while back was spend the majority of your time with tens and nines and eights. You're going to feel much better about yourself. You're going to feel more productive. You might even do less work and accomplish way more. Because I know the majority of your leads that you're getting, the bulk of them are all the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. Don't spend any time with them.
Right.
Let the computer and automation do that. So avatar sellers, highly motivated. They sometimes have some financial pain going on. Sometimes they don't. Everybody always assumes it's because of financial reasons, distressed. No, the seller just wanted to get that property and get the headache off of his head. He doesn't even want money.
Right.
So it's not a money issue for him. It's not a money issue for everybody. So the important thing is, and I'm going to teach everybody about sales. You probably already know this, so I'm not telling you anything you probably already haven't heard, but you need to listen to what is going on with your seller situation. And listening to your seller's situation is how you're going to offer them a solution, not just blabbing out random stuff and hoping you connect. That doesn't always work, guys. Listen to what's going on. So motivated sellers, scale 7 and up. We're calling like right away. Number 2 is they don't always have financial pain, but a lot of them do. A lot of times, maybe they're making 2 payments and they can't afford it. Sometimes they've inherited a home. There's so many different reasons, but usually there's going to be some high level of motivation. And then if you also have some like financial pain added to that,
Right.
that is like oh my gosh, like the bells should be ringing. Now it's time to talk to our sellers. So I'm a big proponent. I know when I very first started, and I'm going to give you the data, guys, based on we have over 18,000 leads in our CRM. 18,000. So that's a lot of people who have reached out to us over the years who have a property they want to sell. Now, out of the deals that we've done, have you ever had anybody who wasn't motivated?
No. That's okay.
Right? But
like everybody that pops in my head, they had either it was like, hey, I need this payment off my back. I don't want to deal with this Airbnb anymore. I moved in with my husband. I don't want to be a landlord. I moved in with my girlfriend, now wife, and I don't need this rental property anymore. Like it's always been a reason of like, I just don't need this property. So it's an unwanted property, which if you've never encountered an unwanted property, like it could be a headache for people. Like I had an unwanted property because I met you, and now I had a house that I didn't really want to rent out in the city, but.
And I gotta say, not for nothing, maybe I haven't seen you in a week, but you're looking good today.
Oh dear.
You're looking good today. So Jen was away for the last week doing a whole bunch of.
I'm a little jet lagged today, but here I am showing up. No excuses.
Right. So you were speaking last week in San Diego.
Yeah, I was with the Cash Flow Queens with Nicole out in San Diego, and I got to meet Natalie and Carrie, some of our rock star clients in our community, and they showed me around San Diego. Got to hang out with my aunt and uncle for a little bit, which was so sweet. Hadn't seen them in a long time. And then I flew to Utah for the Wire Retreat. So ladies, if you are listening and you are looking for a retreat with just women where you can cozy up in pajamas,
guys not allowed.
No boys, coffee chats, hot seats. It's such a beautiful mix of like talking business, but also like having fun, which I feel like I'm really bad at sometimes. Like I don't always allow myself to just have fun and, you know, play silly games. And I think that there's such beauty in that. So
you jumped in the pool with your clothes.
I know. You got to
reel.
check out our reel on Instagram at Wire Community. Oh my goodness. We all had our hair and makeup done for the photo shoot, and then we all fell into the pool. You know, we did it for the gram. So it was a lot of fun. Grace and Amelia put on a heck of a retreat. That's my second one, and I definitely plan on going.
So now that you're dropping the dimes, if you're listening, I feel sorry, because if you see what's going on over here, guys, we're having a ton of fun. So our sellers that we talk to, and I'm going to go over another situation because, you know, this sounds great and all, Joe, but that's single family homes. Well, we're going to talk about one we just put under contract last week. This is in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I have a seller who she's a 10. I've never seen her. But she's a 10 on my motivation scale, and I'll tell you why. So she lives in Colorado. She buys a house sight unseen, a multifamily. It's a 7-unit. She buys it sight unseen, 2022. So the height of the market. You know, Rochester was the city that she bought it in. And if you go on to
Rochester, New York.
So if you go on to realtor.com and you looked at Rochester, it's like, oh, top 10 markets in the country. So it like had all these great ratings. It's just because there's not a lot of houses up there, guys. There's just a shortage of inventory. We got a bunch up there, but that's what's happening. So that market was really, really hot. The rest of the country was too. So she buys this 7-unit sight unseen. She puts down a whole lot of money. She doesn't understand the map of Rochester, and this is in a really, really tough area of the city.
Which you wouldn't know if you didn't like go there or live there.
Oh yeah, and I mean,
sight unseen, it like the numbers probably just look great. Like, right?
Mid.
Well,
mid.
but I mean, like a multifamily or however many units for that same size down here in Florida or California or Colorado. I'm saying that's like from a, you know, not understanding the market of Rochester.
Yep. You hit that on the head because she bought a 7-unit for $325,000.
Right. Like that's unheard of.
You can't even buy a lot here for $325,000. Better yet, with 7 units on it.
Yeah.
So she buys it sight unseen. The agent helps her out. She didn't know anybody in the area. The agent helps put 2 renters into the units because the other 5 are already rented. Well, the 2 renters that they put in stopped paying rent. She had to go through the eviction process in New York. That is a very long process, and it's ugly too. And her tenants were fighting, kicking and screaming the whole time. So it was very difficult to get them out. But now that she got him out, the one tenant keeps coming back, breaking all the windows in the house because he's angry he got kicked out. So now she's in a situation where she's got to get windows fixed. She's got 2 empty units, and the school taxes are due like in 2 weeks. And she's like throwing up the white flag. Like, I surrender. Please help me. I don't want this anymore. I didn't know what I got into. I bought this for $325,000. She says she took a home equity loan out against her own house to put another $50,000 in renovations, and it's all getting destroyed. And she's so upset about it. So she's like, I want to sell.
Yeah.
So when we had the conversation with her, we said, well, would you be open to terms? And she says, absolutely, I would be. We asked that we typically buy with no money down. She says, hey, listen, if you pay the closing costs, can I just get like 4 or 5 grand at closing? And we said, that'd be fine. Right. So now we're through the inspection process, and that's what we're going through right now. We're going to send our guys there to go all through that place to make sure we know what we're getting into first.
Right.
But so does it work on multifamily? Yes, it does. Does it work on single family homes? It sure does, guys. But once again, we had a seller who was a 10 out of state, had some financial pain. She's like, I don't have money for the school taxes. She's like, I can, but it's going to be tight. She's not collecting rent on 2 out of the 7 units. So these are the things where I know people in this area very well. Yeah. I got some really great friends that are property managers in this area. One of my real estate investing friends knows the area so well. He'll tell you what side of the street the sidewalk's on and what color is the neighbor's house. Just from, he's got like street view in his head. It's the freakiest thing.
Shout out Joe.
Shout out Joe, not me, different Joe. But this is the reason why having the right connections are key, guys.
Yep.
So seller, multifamily, level 10 motivation, has some pain going on. That's what we call a 10. So our sellers, our properties that we're looking at, once again, our avatar property, creative finance deals, beautiful properties. There's really no age limit. I could be a brand new property. I could have a 100-year-old bed and breakfast or something that looks absolutely stunning, and they want to do that too. I've got a deal right now outside of Tampa, $1.4 million house. It's a 5,000 square foot house, absolutely gorgeous, and they are okay with seller financing at a 3.99 rate. Only challenge is with the insurance and taxes and all that. That payment is a lot higher than what it rents for, guys.
Yeah.
But it works on the high end stuff too. And this house is gorgeous.
It's not selling on the market.
No. Nope. And now they're selling it for under what they owe on it. They're taking a hit.
And I just can't, I mean, it's just right there. Like 5,000 square feet is so big. Like, guys, I was just staying in a 25,000 square foot house in Utah. Like, I don't understand some of these houses. Like, that's crazy.
That's like a castle.
It had 4 kitchens. So,
well, Utah, they got all that whole,
yeah,
you have
a different lifestyle there.
If you got 5 wives, you got,
yeah, you got your main floor wife, your basement wife, your side house wife.
You get them all.
But yeah, so it doesn't matter what property is, because we've done, like you just said, the multifamily, then there's $1 million homes, and then there's also like the college apartment home where you could tell that it's been,
a frat house.
Lived in a little bit, a couple beers were thrown back.
Lived in. That was a frat house that we bought on terms with $100 down. We covered the closing costs. We tried to unfrat it best we can. No.
Well, let's also.
I'm not talking any smack, but you know how frats. I mean, they're partying up in there, right?
I mean, yeah. So it also made me think of just sometimes too, like families with pets or teenagers, and just like the house got really lived in. We were chatting yesterday. There's a seller where one of our team members actually was looking for a home in Tampa, and she went because it was on the market. And she's like, wow, they were asking like way more. And as soon as you walked in, like the smell of dog pee was there. And so sometimes there's a house that has great bones and structure, but like isn't going to get what they want because they did not take the time to maybe put in some fresh carpet or put a little paint on there. So beautiful turnkey is definitely our jam, but there's some situations now where if a house is sitting and it's not selling, maybe start asking some questions and find out that level of motivation.
So that's what I'm going to get into next.
Yeah.
Wow. What a transition. You are just legitimately on fire.
Half awake and here I am still slaying.
Shout out to that Celsius doing his job. So either way, what we're going to get to now is some of the houses that we buy with seller financing that where Jen calls that lipstick pretty polish.
Yep.
So what does that mean? I'm not redoing renovations. I'm not gutting the place. The house is in nice shape, but maybe they did have pets and we need to replace some carpet. Maybe there's a few rooms you have to paint. Beautiful house, beautiful neighborhood, but it might need carpet. It might need some paint, but nothing major. I'm not gutting kitchens. I'm not redoing the bathroom. There might be like a
ripping out electrical and doing all that.
No, that's generally already been done before we bought it. And that's the best part about doing it. So if you walk into a house and you talk to the seller about terms, and then you go to visit it and you're like, well, Joe and Jen talk about beautiful houses and this one's got stains in the carpet and it smells like dog. Like, don't freak out. Like, just make sure you're pricing everything accordingly and your numbers line up. And I think that is legitimately, guys, the key is finding motivated sellers. So this seller that you're talking about had his house listed on the market, didn't sell, not selling.
And it's in a nice area, right?
On the water.
Ooh.
On the water. It's a small lake that it's on in Florida, just north of Tampa. Small lake. You could actually have a small boat or jet ski on it, which is incredible. Allegedly, they said there's never been gators in there, which you'd never trust that.
I don't trust that.
Because if it's a puddle.
One day there will be, and you'll find out.
Oh, they're going to be sneaking in, climbing fences. I didn't know gators climb fences down here, guys. So, but they do. So either way, there might not be one. There might be. But either way, it's on a nice little lake. And it's a great community, great area, great school district too. So is he motivated to sell? Yeah, it's going to need a little bit of updating.
Did he already move out?
I don't think so.
No, he's still living there?
I think he is. Okay. Yeah. So,
Lexi, our acquisition is already talking about like 8-year terms and possibly nothing down.
Yeah. So the seller's okay with doing, if we could do some money down, he would let us have a much longer term. Mm-hmm. But he did say if we were to buy with no money down, he would have an 8-year term he would do because he has a bunch of equity. And a seller is going to want to know, well, when do I get my equity? And I'm not whatever, but like if they have equity, I don't make payments to them on the side because that's going to eat away your cash flow. So, and we typically buy with no money down. So that means they're not going to usually get a big chunk up front. And you don't want to know why? Because if I buy that property, we cover closing costs. That's going to be $7,000-8,000. Mm-hmm. We got to replace that carpet. I got to probably clean up some stuff. So send in the cleaners, get some carpet in there, maybe do some paint. I'm probably making a payment or two while I'm doing this, right? I got to put an insurance policy on there. So when you start adding all that up, that could get to $20,000-30,000 quick, guys. Yeah. Quick. So when a seller tells me they need $50,000 down on top of what I'm already looking at, it kills the deals. So big, like asterisks next to this part, guys, we typically buy with no money down, and it's to protect the deal. And if you're able to have a good deal that's profitable, you're going to really protect the deal. Everything's going to do well. When you're making these deals that just make 0 sense, like if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So you got to make money.
Yeah.
So these are our ideal properties. These are our ideal sellers. There's situations now. There's many.
So you're not begging people for their properties?
No. I even kind of do the opposite. I'm like, hey, why don't you just list this thing and sell it? Like, what's stopping you from doing that? Mm-hmm. Where I think a lot of other investors might, never even think of asking that question because you're afraid maybe they might say, I might as well.
Yeah.
And which is not always a bad choice for some people. And I love agents. So there's many times where that is their best bet, but not every time. And many times our sellers have said, I've already tried that and it's not working. Mm-hmm. Right. And most of the time, that means the market has already spoken and the price is too high. So I think these are some of the keys, guys, to where for us, our motivated situations, our avatar situation, because there's the sellers, there's the properties, and now I'm going to get into the situations. Many times I've seen job transfers. Mm-hmm. I can't believe how many times that we've bought a property from somebody who's just getting a job transfer and they're like, hey, I'm leaving in 3 weeks. I can't make 2 payments. An avatar seller from New York wants to relocate out of New York State. I can't tell you how many properties we bought from people in New York State with seller financing or with terms that they were leaving the state. I'm moving to Florida. I'm moving to Georgia. I'm moving to North Carolina, South Carolina. I'm moving and leaving New York State. Their objections were high taxes, bad weather, all the blah, blah, blah. And they always think grass is greener on the other side. It's not.
Or
always.
Their family moved and they wanted to go be closer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So in Florida, our avatar situation, same thing. They're moving somewhere else. We do see, obviously, and this happens everywhere, but you see a lot of folks who have inherited a home. Right. And sometimes the Florida home was the second home. So it wasn't even their primary residence. And sometimes the kids live in multiple different cities out of state. And they have this house down here that was usually one of their parents. And it maybe needs work. Sometimes it doesn't, but they want to sell. So our avatar situations, highly motivated, things like that. Death in the family, divorce, job transfers, all of those things qualify.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting too. The Florida, I feel like, has that little window of like people come down and then they're like, oh, I can't stand the heat, or oh, the traffic, or the snakes and the bugs and all the things.
The halfbacks, what they call them.
So then they end up moving. Yeah. So you just never know. But like you said, it just goes back to the three first questions that we ask on our little script there of how motivated they are. And they're going to give you, like, if they just start writing paragraphs, because again, we're doing everything through messaging, the more they write, the more they're ready. So take heed of that. And so just know that if they're writing a lot and they're asking great questions and they want to hear more about seller financing, like that's when you pick up the phone and that's when the magic starts really happening.
So could you get into a little bit more about that, the answering, right? One word questions versus the story and why one's better than the other?
Well, I think that if somebody doesn't want to really sell right now, then they're going to be like maybe watching TV and just be like, yeah, no, 2018, I don't know. And so like they're not really that vested. But if somebody like sees something on Facebook, that's how we run our sponsored ads, and they see that we pay full price for houses, and they're going to be more inclined to like, yeah, like help me out here. Like I tried listing it, it's not working, or I don't want to worry about the timing of my sale. And they're just going to like spill their guts. They're going to just start typing a whole big paragraph and let you really in on like the situation. And that's really what it's all about. Is we always say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And so your job is to ask the questions to collect the information, but then taking in all that information and then taking a good look at it and seeing how you could possibly help that person.
Well, can I talk about not a stressful situation, but we're going to talk about our situation.
What's our situation?
So, hi, I'm Joe. This is my wife, Jen.
Oh,
we're real estate investors. So we bought a property in Pensacola, Florida.
Oh, that situation.
Yeah. Well, it needed renovations. So we did. We do fix and flips too. So we've done renovations to the house. This house has been sitting there. It's absolutely beautiful.
Stunning.
I mean, like ridiculous. So shout out to our contractor, did a great job. Mm-hmm. However, the challenge was even after it's sitting there, we've had some showings and it's been pretty consistent. We've even had a few price drops, but we're still having showings coming in. So I didn't feel like there's a need to drop it anymore, even though we priced it right in the beginning. So the market is getting a little bit soft over there. But then so are we motivated to sell? Of course, it's a flip. Of course I want to sell it. But more importantly, the strange thing about real estate, it sat on the market for probably 90 days. Mm-hmm. So when some people can't swing 90 days of holding costs or renovations or things like that, we did this one, so we just pay cash for it. But in some folks, if this is a second property or if this is their main property, sitting in the market for 90 days could be a real big issue for somebody. But then today, my realtor says that we have 2 offers.
Oh.
Like what the heck happens? The thing will sit there for 3 months and then all of a sudden we're getting 2 offers at the same time. I'm like, yay, good. Let's go. But so it's real estate's a strange thing, guys. So the name of the game.
But like, let's dial. I thought you were gonna talk about like our personal situation of when we sold our house. Like, let's say back in 2022, we listed our house and it like we shout out to that realtor, Mike Lee up in Rochester. We listed it. He did all the right things. It was like the peak of the market. And so we were very fortunate that we had some offers come in. We sold the house right away. But like, I can't imagine having to like deal with that stress for 90 days.
Well, wait a minute. It was a little sketchier than that. If you remember.
I don't. I block it out.
So we already had our Florida house picked out. We were already moving. Yeah. We're moving. Okay. The car's packed. We have the pod getting packed. It's dropped off in the driveway. We're loading it up. We put the house on the market, if you remember, like a Wednesday, and we had showings like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So frustrating. So if you've never sold a house, like you have to like have it like spotless, right? Like we have kids and a dog and we work out of our home. So that was really stressful just to get us all out every single time.
Like no fork left in the sink.
Right. And like kids' toys, beds made, like everything packed really neat. And,
again, then you got to put the dog in the car.
Luckily, we only have a 12-pound Chihuahua. I can't imagine if we had like multiple dogs.
And then you have to go leave your house for hours.
Yeah.
Right. So we had some showings. By Monday morning, we did not have an offer on the house. The pod was leaving, I think, Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And so, we were leaving Wednesday. Pod shows up. I'm loading everything. My realtor calls and was like, hey,
that's right.
I have like 2 or 3 more showings that all want to come on Tuesday. And I'm like, really? Like we're packing up. Like the house is going to be like half the stuff is already missing. It's already in this thing. And I'm like, and not for nothing, like we have a lot of packing to do. So like if they're going to come in, let them come in and get out because we got some stuff to do. But luckily then we had it sold. They put an offer for over asking. It was the people that were taking forever at the house were the ones that actually bought it, which is a good thing if they're spending a lot of time at the house. So indicator, right? But they were spending a lot of time there. So we were at some friend's house across the street wondering when these people will leave. But then when they did, we got that offer over asking. We were able to pay off that mortgage, and obviously move down here. But if you had to make 2 payments at the same time, and then not only of that, if you had to make 2 payments for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 10 months,
adds up.
Oh my gosh. And I'm not going to talk about that deal with Krabby Patty down here in Florida, but this house has been on the market for 2 years.
You are.
I'm gonna shout out Krabby Patty, the realtor who didn't want to bring the offer to the sellers, but these people are making a $3,500 payment on their vacant house
for over a year.
For 2 years.
2 years.
For 2 years now. Think about that.
Whatever happened with that? I thought you connected with a new realtor.
I did. The new realtor, and she's fantastic.
Yeah.
But the property, the rent is only about $3,500, and their payment's $3,500.
Which wasn't the case when we first looked at it.
Right. Rents have gone down a little bit. So either way, guys, you got to remember there's a lot of these situations out there. So the key, get some leads, get in front of some motivated people.
Well, that's the part I wanted to kind of chat about too, is like when I think avatar, it's like, who are you talking to? So like we love social media, but it's really important to like hone in on who you're talking to. So if you are an investor, like use ChatGPT if you need to, but like I don't want to say dumb it down, but bring it down to like the 5th grade level. Because again, if you're talking up here and you're talking all this investor lingo, like a normal person who's just looking to sell their home isn't going to understand wraparound mortgages, sub-2, lease options, like all these bells and whistles that we all like to throw around and talk about. They just want to know, can you buy my house? Can you pay my price? And, can I just walk away? Typically.
I think what happens a lot of times, new investors, they're going to feel like, okay, I've watched some YouTube videos, right? I've watched how to do this. And they get all excited and they want to talk to a seller and tell them everything that they've just learned. And I've heard live seller calls, guys. And let me tell you, I'm not talking smack. You're doing your thing. Bravo to you. But the one thing that will blow up your deals is when you're calling a seller and say, I buy subject to, and then I use a wrap-around mortgage with the deed of trust and the land trust and with the closing attorney and the title company, and their heads blow up.
And you know this firsthand because
I used to do it. I used to do it all the time
for hours.
And I'd give them a little mini crash course on what, creative finance was back in 2016 and 17 when I was first talking to sellers, probably even 18.
Even a little bit after.
But the point of it was I realized that we were just blabbing what we would call diarrhea of the mouth.
It's true, though. You kind of just like fire hose somebody and it's just too much. A confused mind then can't make a decision. So you really want to simplify things. So when you're speaking, if you're posting on your socials, which you should be because it's totally free, or you're talking live or you're in person with people, just let them know that you can pay full price for a house and you'd love to chat more about it. And when you're chatting more about it, just keep it simple.
Yeah. And so simplify it. Keep it easy. I will tell you, a seller, if you've ever sold a house before, you know what it's like to sell a house, right? If you haven't, it can be stressful. What sellers ultimately want, do you remember the big red easy button that was on like TV commercials? I think it was Staples. You just smash the easy button and then whatever that process was, it became really easy.
Yep.
When you're talking to a seller, think of that easy button.
We even tell that to them. Like, this would be the easiest sale you'll ever have.
Now you're going to take my line.
Oh, sorry. Did I give it away?
That's exactly what we do, guys. This is going to be the easiest sale you're ever going to have. We pay even all of the closing costs and fees. You're able just to walk away and pick your closing date. Like, simple. Okay. So avatar sellers, highly motivated people. If you're not generating leads, guys, we already talk about how to do that for free.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend money. This was the biggest misconception with real estate investing is I have to spend a ton of money to get off market leads. You do not. You could get all of the leads and all of the deals that you want by just spending some time on social media in these blue posts that we call it.
Ooh, let's chat about that for a hot second because tonight we actually have a little webinar. So if you haven't registered for that yet, and even
tonight,
it's happening tonight, September, what are we on? 17th here at 6 p.m. Eastern. And I wanted to share here that, like Roberto was asking, what is a good strategy to find those buyers? He got some interest from a ghost ad he placed in a Facebook Marketplace. the best way to have this conversation and a step-by-step. So yes, Roberto, there's all of these things work. So marketplace is a different level. What we're chatting about is Facebook groups. So tonight we are going to take you step by step, this simple process of on Facebook, how to set your profile up properly, what groups you should be joining, and how to and what to post in these Facebook groups. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely comment below webinar and we'll make sure that you get that link tonight. Otherwise, it is happening. And then if you can't make it, at least sign up for it. You can get sent the recording because this is invite only. We're not going live streaming on this. It's going to be registered participants only, and you can come and ask us
and
questions.
We got a whole bunch of people coming tonight, so this is going to be awesome, guys. But we're going to do a super, I know Jen, but it's going to be a deep dive into this stuff.
Oh yeah, we got like 100 people coming, so we're super pumped.
Giddy up.
Yep. So that said, like you are mentioning, once you're growing and scaling your business, yes, there's a time and place to definitely pay for leads. But when you're first getting started, I wish we had the strategy. Like we would have saved $10,000.
What's 10,000?
At minimum.
It'd be a fortune because, guys, we spend money on Facebook ads now too. We still do, but we're doing, more. When you're first getting started, if you're learn for free by getting these ads for free or by getting the leads for free. You still need to learn what you're doing. And so many times somebody will call me and be like, hey, Joe, I have this, creative finance deal and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, do you want a JV on it? Or are you thinking of selling us the deal? And they're like, well, I want to keep it, but I'm really not too sure what to do. And I'm like, well, first up, you need to get some education training on how to do this properly.
Yep.
This isn't something you're going to want to just kind of figure out on your own. You really need to understand because you're got insurance, you're taking over payments sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more tricky and you really want to make sure you're setting yourself and your sellers and buyers up for success, guys.
Absolutely.
To where everybody wins. And, to do the right thing it's not that terrible or hard to do. You just got to spend some time with the right people.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on follow-up too? I have a comment over here on Instagram that Michelle, I have had several that had inheritance and they're set on their price. It needs full rehab. It was never renovated and foundation issues as well. She offered seller finance and they won't do it.
Well, I would put in what my low cash offer would be. And I would say, well, here's the two options I have. I've got either A or B, low cash offer or slightly higher on terms if they would be willing to take payments for a short time just until I get it sold later on. Mm-hmm. If they are not interested in either one of them, well, then my question is how motivated are they on that scale of 1 to 10? Doesn't sound like they're a 10. Maybe they are, and they just want more money for it. But sometimes, they don't have realistic expectations. The lady I talked to today, she came in as a new lead. She did not respond to any of our messaging, but she left her phone number. I called it. Introduced myself. She's got a house in Irondequoit, which is a suburb I grew up in outside of Rochester, New York. It's a great neighborhood, real close to one of the best high schools around, 2 streets over.
Yep.
She wants 180 and the house is worth probably 200,000 and it needs everything done to it. So does she have unrealistic expectations? She does. I have to at least find out what the cash offer would be and then submit that offer along with a seller financing offer because she says, no, I don't want to do terms. I just want cash. Well, then here's a cash offer. But if you want more money, I could do it. But this would be the way I could do that too. Mm-hmm. And then this way I can make 2 offers to every seller and whatever one they pick, I'm still happy with.
And Doug he's coming tonight. Can't wait to see you later, Doug.
Yay.
I have an opportunity in Dallas with seller financing, principal payments only, but they want $50K down and the house has foundation issues. Any suggestions?
Yep. So great thing there, Doug. So good thing about Texas, most of the houses, not all, but most are on a slab foundation, which are a little bit easier to correct than basements and things like that with foundation issues because I've done with both. Many times if I'm going to buy a house with seller financing, I love principal only payments. So there's no interest. But with the 50 grand down, I let them know that when I buy the property and close on it, I'm going to have to put a lot of money into the property. Mm-hmm. So in order for me to make this deal work, Doug, I'd have to buy it with no money down because this isn't something I'm going to buy and it's just ready to go. Like I'm going to have to put some funds into the property. Plus there's going to be holding costs while I'm doing this. And I really want to make sure I do this right. So I typically buy with no money down, Doug. So if you need a down payment, like a small one, what's the least you would need to get this with like, and if they give me some number like, oh, 45, I'm like, I know 45 isn't going to work. Is there any way I could get this done for like, 4 or 5 grand? And then I just shut up and I listen. And sometimes they say, well, can you do 10? And I'm like, oh, that's much better than 50.
Right. So how many times have you moved somebody from like a high number down?
I've moved people. They wanted over 100 grand down and they end up taking like 10.
Yep.
So time and circumstances, but also too, having a validating reason why. Well, I typically have no money down, but on a property that needs a bunch of work, I'm going to put some money into the house. And that's why I'm going to have to buy with no money down.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe I don't ever say like overpay for properties because I'm never about doing that. But if you have a 0% mortgage, which you do, I might offer him, well, what if I could do 5 grand down, but I'll pay you a little bit more for the property. So this is why I love creative finance, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm letting the cat out of the hat. There's so many different levers to pull. When I was a cash buyer and I was only doing cash, there's only one lever.
Yep.
Cash price. Yes or no. Does it work? Yes, no, whatever. With this, I could look at the down payment, monthly payments, the term length, the price. There's so many different variables to this. This is what makes it so exciting and why you need to get proper training to learn how to really negotiate and analyze these deals to make the seller be like, wait a minute, Doug just paid me $10,000 more than everybody else because he is willing to pay over if I just do it with 10 grand down rather than 50.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
because again, it's that purchase price most often. I mean, it's very rare where we run into a situation where the seller who is highly motivated will only take like a high amount down. If they're highly motivated, they're more flexible on that upfront payment.
Yeah. Unless there's an extreme circumstance, like I could only do that much money down. Like we've got one right now. They want $50,000 down because he wants the 50 grand to buy an RV so he could go travel the country. He's already got it picked out. I'll do it. Seller finance, take my property. You could have it, but I need 50 grand down to buy the RV. And I was even thinking the point, like if you take a home equity line against the property to cover the RV, what would the difference in payment be? Can I still cash flow? Can't cash flow. But this is the point, guys. There's so many cool things to do. Mm-hmm. So yes, Doug, to answer your question, the one thing I always say is we typically buy with no money down. And probably who does that better than me now is Lexi.
Ooh, girls on fire.
Our acquisition manager, Lexi, was our babysitter 2 years ago. I said, are you looking for a job? Because she just moved to Florida. She said, yes, but I know nothing about real estate. I said, don't worry, I'll train you. I've trained her so well. She's gotten to the point where I'll talk to the seller. She's like, hey, Joe, I have a deal. Give the seller a call. I've already negotiated everything. And, I'll be like, hey, so I see this is the deal. And, we'll buy no money down. And they're like, yeah, well, that's what Lexi says. You guys buy no money down, I guess. So that's fine by me. And I'm like, great job, Lexi. She just smiles, right?
Yep. And that's because she loves talking on the phone and she's just always so cheerful and like really took her studying very seriously with you too over the years. So
yeah. So here's the deal, guys. If you're going to be talking to sellers, one thing is be somewhere where you could stand up, put your shoulders back, be excited. It's called having an active conversation. And this is the one thing Jen touched on earlier. When a seller is messaging us, if they're giving me one word answers, like, hey, tell me about the property. And they're like, what do you want to know? Like some stuff like that. They're not being a very engaged conversation. It's mostly me asking these questions and they're giving me yes, no, maybe, like that kind of stuff. Not an active conversation. The people who I'm asking a question and they're giving me a ton of information back, that's an active conversation. Great thing to talk to. You'll more likely do deals with those people. So, but when you're talking on the phone, make sure you're listening, but being very engaged in the conversation. Don't sound like you're a stone. Yep. Sure. No, like get into it.
Don't be busy. Like this is not something where you're trying to multitask on the phone call. Like it's one thing to just copy and paste like the first 10 questions, but after those 10 questions and they've said, yes, I'm interested in terms or seller financing, I want to hear more. You've got to like put your like, I don't know.
Okay. So maybe
your boxing gloves on and get ready to go into the ring.
So then I need your comments down below on this because I know how I feel. But if I was having a conversation with somebody and I could hear them like doing something in the background, maybe they're doing dishes or they're rustling around papers or they're whatever they're doing, does that like turn you off and make you not want to talk to them? So say me too if that's you in the comments
Yeah.
below, because I want to know if that's you too. Because like for me, if I'm talking to somebody and I could hear them wrestling around with papers, and I just don't feel like they're in my conversation.
Right. They're elsewhere.
And they're not going to be paying attention, guys. So I will tell you, if I'm on a call with somebody and I hear they're preoccupied with somebody or something going on, I will legitimately say, hey, I know I'm definitely interested, but is now a good time? It sounds like you have some things going on, and maybe we should either connect later on, or if now's good, I can still go forward.
Right.
But it's a nice way to say, stop doing what you're doing and let's have this talk, or if not, we'll have a talk later on. But also too, it's being respectful of their time, because maybe they do have something happening. So just being engaged in that call, super important.
Mm-hmm.
We got a few minutes left, so do you want to do some Q&A? We got a couple questions in
touch
here.
on a couple here. But yeah, let's see. Tony and Angie are going to be there tonight. Can't wait to see you. So they want to know, are offers verbal or written? And do you share any contingencies with that offer, or do you wait to see the property?
Wow.
A lot.
Okay, yeah. So we don't make offers. The seller makes us the offer. So that initially starts verbally. We're going to ask great questions. And from the questions we ask, the sellers will give us their figures and the numbers and the time length. So they're making us the offer. So that's initially verbal. What we agree on, maybe we have to counter offer or do something else. But then after that, we're going to put it in writing what we have agreed on. And that's super important. So when somebody says, show me the paperwork, I'm like, great, well, I will. But when I do send it over, there's going to have to be some stuff on it. And in order for me to put it in there, I need to know what we're talking about. So what's the lease you'll take for the property? I typically buy it with no money down, things like that. Mm-hmm. What we agree on, I will then put that on paper and I will send that to them on a DocuSign. I don't, Lexi does now. And then do I share any contingencies with that offer, or wait until you see it? So I do have a contingency that I've got a 21-day due diligence period. So I'm going to write the offer now. I'm going to have it under agreement, because if I don't have an agreement, I'm not going out to see the property. Mm-hmm. So if I have an agreement and they said yes to these terms, well, then I'm going to send my person out or people out, and then we're going to do the walkthrough. A beautiful house, beautiful neighborhood that I'm buying on terms, there's usually nothing they're going to see, mm-hmm. right? These are nice houses. Like the house built in 2022, maybe there are some things, but generally speaking, there's nothing wrong with a 2-year-old house. If it's a handyman special junker, well, maybe they've taken a lot of pictures. I'm going to make sure that my price fits what I see accordingly, and assume it's going to need all of this stuff plus extras, because it always does. So I'm going to have my price there. And then once I send out my contractors, maybe there's things that we didn't see or the seller didn't tell us about. And we had one recently. The seller said, yeah, this is my property. Here's the pictures. We looked at the pictures, looks good. The price they wanted was more than fair. Wrote up the deal, sent over the contractor. The contractor's like, yeah, I don't know from when those pictures were from, but they were from years ago, because this is what it looks like now. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even the same house. It couldn't have been the same house, but it was. So we had to go back to drawing board, but still made the deal work. So that's the process that we do. And those are our big contingencies.
And because we do it and we've been doing it, that, thank you for saying that we should do a course on training acquisitionists, but we cover all of this in our small group coaching. So we have every single day of the week, we have our live support calls. And so today I ran mine, and it was a lot about how to train your team, what you're doing, and how you're navigating some of these different systems and processes to be able to do so. Because if you can do this business, then you can train someone else. And obviously there's a learning curve when you're bringing people on your team. But if this is something you want to do full time, that's obviously a route that you have to go down and make sure that you do, train your team and stuff. So yeah, we cover all of that. So it's not that we need a course for it. It's just part of our training. So
I just got a text message from somebody named Wendy, who just heard us on the Bigger Pockets podcast.
Hey, Wendy.
And she wants to know more about it too. So there we go. Yes.
Come aboard. Yeah. And we really break all of these things down. So Ina, great question. So we talk about these 10 magic questions. They're really simple. You get them off of our site. We call it a script, but it's just 10 questions. We have tried and true. We've tried it all. In order to get answers from your sellers, you need to ask one question at a time. So it's question 1. copy paste, and they respond. And then question 2, copy paste, and then they respond. And obviously you don't want to be a robot. You know, you want to add your emojis. And if they say something that's like a little bit, you know, sad, you know, like use emotion, be a human there, but definitely one question at a time. Don't clump them, don't skip them, don't change them, like Joe said. So if you're going to go grab that script, use it and don't change it, one question at a time. And we really made it a nice guide from start to finish, because it's not even just 10 questions. It's like this whole like wrapped up guide at this point, where it's like giving you the behind the scenes of like why we're saying this, how you need to structure that. Some rebuttals are even in there. So it's not just like 10 questions. It's actually a really meaty document that you can utilize and really get started with it, because our goal is for you to be able to generate off-market leads for free.
So Jen, if I don't have that already, where can I get that from?
You're going to creativefinanceplaybook.com. It's our website. It's right there. A free lead, free guide, free posts that you're going to share. And we're going to go into how to post and where to post tonight on our webinar at 6 p.m. Eastern.
So does anybody want to learn how to get free leads who reach out to you? These are incoming leads. Mm-hmm. These are people who see your post and they're going to reach out to you and say, I have a house they want to sell. So who wants to see that? Write me down in the comments if you're not already registered tonight, and we'll make sure you get that registration code, because guys, you aren't going to want to miss this, because let me tell you, the key to this business, and I've been doing this for 24 years, if you don't have incoming leads coming to you, you don't have a business, period. You're not going to do deals. You got to get leads. And if you think they're just going to be on the MLS, those are usually the lowest quality out there.
Let's go.
So I see a bunch of people saying yes. So guys, get your invite for tonight. It's going to be
there.
In 3 hours, and we're going to break down the nitty gritty details.
It's in 3 hours, as you said.
In 3 hours.
Okay, it's not for 3 hours.
No, it's in 3 hours from right now. So do what you need to do, but then you need to come back. But it's not on here. You're going to have to get the link because it's an invite event only. But we're going to do the deep dive on how you're going to be able to score leads. It doesn't matter where you are. Anywhere around the world you could do this, but we only do it in the US. So we're going to talk about groups here, but this is going to be the key.
Okay. And as far as keeping things organized, in the very beginning, we were just doing the very best we could, whether it is a little bit of Post-it note or Google Sheets. At this point, we have some systems in place. So if that's an area where you're like, I'm getting leads, but I'm getting a bottleneck and I'm kind of getting stuck in, like, we also have a person on our team, Abby, shout out. She is our tech manager, and she has come up with a free system of how to be able to track all of these and keep people straight. Otherwise, you know, like Joe said, like if you're just getting started and you don't have the money for anything, then what you really need to do is stay organized. So if somebody has high level motivation, a house they want to sell, like you just need to stay on top of that person. So whether it's your Google Calendar and you're putting in there like John Smith, his phone number, his address, and like he's open to terms, you know, then just really following up and staying on top of that. Otherwise, there's so many management systems out there. There's really cost-effective CRMs, but you don't need any of that. If you are just trying to do your first deal, it's just stay with it and do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I think that's a key. Just keep the best leads in front of you at all times. So this is one of the things that I would say is when we first got leads, motivate or not, I'd call like 2 times and then like, chuck it aside, because a new lead came in.
You took the action. So you see this person is not responding to any messages. And so we had their phone number. You called them up. And
guess what? She answered.
She answered the phone.
We had a great conversation, and she's so nice.
Aww.
So, you know, those are the things that are great. And guess what? If I called and she was cranky, I would turn over my egg timer, the 3-minute timer in my head, knowing I've got 3 minutes to get off this call if they're mean, cranky, anything like that, or sooner. But you know, she was fantastic to talk to. So I spent that extra time with her, getting a little bit more about her situation, the property, what it needs, finding out her time frame. She doesn't want to sell for 6 months, but she was great to talk to and still has a great property. So does she need to get a little bit more flexible on the price? Absolutely. Sounds like she has some flexibility. So will I keep her in front of us? Motivated seller, house needs a bunch of work, willing to take a discount, not quite a big enough discount yet, but this is definitely one we're going to keep an eye on. So,
and I got to say, thank you so much for saying that you love how we communicate, because we do I think that's what makes us so great because as far as like being able to coach others, I was a middle school English teacher. So even just before this, I was back here with a whiteboard and we're talking about run-ons and fragment sentences with my kiddos, and they're in 4th and 6th grade right now. But the thing is, it's like it could be a really high level concept, but you need to break it down into small bites. And so we recognize that some people are at different levels. And so sometimes it's really important to just plain and simple English, right? Like you don't need to know every single ins and out of all of the details. It's being in a coaching environment where we can literally hold your hand and walk you step by step through the things that you do need to know. And, you know, Joe, definitely, like it took me how long to understand what terms were?
Couple weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
I'm teasing.
Oh, I at least had it down by 2018, I think.
No, you did great.
Yeah.
You know, but it's trickier things. So when you're learning in the beginning, give yourself some grace, guys. You don't have to be like creating masterpieces overnight.
Yep.
You're gonna goof up. That's okay. Just keep going, and that's the key. Oh, you're giving away the phone number.
Yeah, it is that time. I have a call coming up here, so we're gonna have to wrap things up on this podcast. We always have so much fun. We won't be live next week because we're going to be in Tampa with some really amazing other investors and educators in the space at the Family Mastermind. So if you're in the Tampa area, let us know. Maybe we can say hello to you. But we are not going to be live. So next week, go catch up on an older episode. But even more importantly, go use that blue ad, go post it into Facebook groups and start talking to sellers and bring them back to us the following week, and we can chat about what's going on, a situation that you may be stuck on, and we're here for you guys. And yeah, Joe's phone number, 585-207-2240. He answers his phone when he's not live on podcasting. Or send him a text. We would love to just share a little bit more, because without Creative Finance, we would not be living in Florida, homeschooling our kids, working together full time.
Not having all the properties that we do.
Yeah, there was no way we would have doubled our portfolio if we were still trying to go to the banks.
Yeah.
Beat the banks, Creative Finance for the win.
Bam!
Woo! All right. We'll see you guys later tonight. It's been an excellent time, and make sure you're subscribing to YouTube Creative Finance Playbook. And if you like what you're hearing, make sure that you give us some great reviews on Spotify and Apple. We're always trying to grow over there too.
You're like a 10-star review, babe.
Oh,
great job today.
Yeah.
Bam.
Thanks everybody. Have a great evening, and we'll see you later.
See you guys.
Bye.